Once the installation of Active Directory domain services has finished, you can come back to the Server Manager window or the Server Manager dashboard, and as you can see here, you will get this notification: post-deployment configuration. Configuration required for Active Directory domain services is this. So let's click on this task here. That is, we need to configure this server as a domain controller. Just below here you can see the feature installation. Configuration required, installation succeeded on this. Okay, now let's select this one, promote this server to a domain controller. Let's promote this as we don't have any domain controller as of now. You get to this Active Directory domain services configuration widget with a bit of time. Okay, so in this deployment configuration page, we will add a new forest. That is, it will help you, this video tutorial will help you to create a new forest. And that's the first thing that we have to do after we have installed Active Directory domain services. Add a domain controller to an existing domain. This doesn't apply to us. As of now, we do not have any existing domain. Add a new domain to an existing forest, also doesn't apply to us. And now let's select add a new forest. Specify the domain information for this operation. We need to select a root domain name. Type the name of the domain you want to create. Now let's type, for example, you can select some domain names like kamk.fi, oulu.fi, etc. But those domain names are already occupied. We cannot use them, and we do not have any qualified domain names. Therefore, let's write, for example, I'm going to write deepok.kc or deepok.com. So you can use a domain name of your choice, like this one, and then click next. It takes a bit of time, so let's wait. Okay, in this window here, you will have to select functional label of the new forest and root domain. Forest functional label Windows Server 2012 R2, domain functional label Windows Server 2012 R2. In order to understand what these functional labels are, you will have to check chapter 5, which explains about this. I'm not quite sure if it's chapter 5. Let me check it. Yes, in chapter 5 there are different slides like Active Directory functions, the Active Directory architecture, classes of objects, domains, organizational units, groups, domain trees, forest, and global catalog, understanding functional labels. So let's see briefly what these functional labels are. Functional labels are designed to provide backwards compatibility in Active Directory domain services, with domain controllers running various versions of the Windows Server operating system. If you select the functional label representing the oldest Windows version running on your domain controllers, you will disable the new features so that the various domain controllers can interoperate properly. So it's totally depending on the type of environment and the type of setup we do have. If I select, for example, the forest functional label Windows Server 2008 and the domain functional label also Windows Server 2008, and let's type in the directory services restore DSRM password, you can use the same password as administrator account so that you don't forget it, and then click next. So here you can see that verification of safe password mode failed. The directory services restore mode does not match. Okay, I have typed in incorrect passwords. Let me correct it. Okay, so domain name server and then global catalog, which are checked for specified domain controller capabilities. And let's make this Windows Server 2012 R2, not Windows Server 2008. Let's click next. A delegation for this DNS server cannot be created because the authoritative parent zone cannot be found. So if you click show more, you will get this information. Cannot be found, or it does not run Windows DNS server. If you are integrating with an existing DNS infrastructure, you should manually create a delegation to this DNS server in the parent zone to ensure reliable name resolution from outside the domain debug.kc. Otherwise, no action is taken. So we don't want to do this DNS server. So we can leave it. You can just ignore this warning message, as this is not a real domain name what we have used. Click next, and then in the NetBIOS domain name, it shall automatically get the NetBIOS domain name according to the NetBIOS equivalent depending on the domain name that you have specified. Modify the name if you want, and then click next. In the paths page, you can specify the location of the Active Directory domain service database log files and sysfile. Database folder, log files folder, and sysfile folder. So if you want to change this default option, you can do it by clicking on this dotted buttons here. I'm going to leave it as it is. So let's click next. Review your selections. So this is the summary of what you're going to do or what you're going to apply to your server. Configure the server as the first Active Directory domain controller in a new forest. The new domain is debug.kc. This is also the name of the new forest. The NetBIOS name of the domain is debug. Forest functional level and other information here. And then click next. So prerequisites need to be validated before Active Directory domain services is installed on this computer. Let it verify the prerequisites for the domain, and you can see here all prerequisite checks passed successfully. Click install to begin installation. So we can now proceed with the installation, and then click install. Once this installation process has completed, we now have the forest root domain, and after it we can proceed to create additional domain controllers within our domain. Also, we can add new domains to the forest.